Hi, my name is Shereif Fattouh. I'm a producer on Dead Space 2, and you're watching Atomics. Oh, I mean, we couldn't be more excited. I mean, we tried to, when we set out to really, kind of redefine what the survival horror genre was about, and, in the original Dead Space 1, we felt that, we really gave a throwback to the fans of, what they love about, survival horror and the pacing and atmosphere and really driving kind of the combat and emotion that the survival horror genre really brings to the table. And, we just feel, very grateful to the fans that they appreciate, the effort that we put into it, because we definitely wanted to make it something, memorable and enjoyable. And, everybody seems to love it, and we couldn't be happier about that. Well, I mean, whenever you're launching a new IP, I mean, we're focused on the game, first and foremost, as always. It's like the game is the most important thing, and we really have this vision of creating a wonderful universe that people can get, all the fans can get excited about, and, everyone gravitated towards that. And as we saw the success that was building, and, it was really generated by fan interest of, what's the backstory, they want to know more about, this engaging universe that we had, kind of set forth, and, all this other media that we have, it's just another way to get that story out, and, we just want to increase, the kind of living universe that we have here, and, with all these different, with the novels and the games that you mentioned, we're just building this franchise up, and, we're hoping that we can really tell a very compelling story across all the different formats. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, as you guys have seen in the demo, the big news for Isaac is that now he speaks, and we're going to hear his voice, you're going to be seeing his face, and we're actually going to be giving him a lot more personality. One of the things that we really wanted to improve upon is is the backstory, is the storytelling, giving the character more emotion, and through the ability that we have with him speaking, and with coming with his helmet coming off and having those kind of engaging conversations, and in the gameplay, you're really going to kind of see the character come through, and we feel that people are going to get excited and learn more about him and kind of empathize more with the character. And it's not just the silent protagonist throughout the whole game, it's somebody that you can actually, is a human being, he's an engineer, you're going to learn more about him, you're going to understand kind of where, his mental state is, his kind of psychology and his background, so we're pretty excited about that. Well, I mean, that's really the heart of the game, as the gameplay and the controls. We feel that we've really taken it a step further with this whole strategic dismemberment 2.0. I mean, as you mentioned, we're going to have tons of new enemies, new weapons. You've seen some of them in the E3 demo with the javelin gun and the TK impalement. I mean, being able to dismember necromorphs and use their blades as weapons is something that feel really brings a nice little reactive environment gameplay to it. So there's just tons of new ways that you're going to be able to dismember all the enemy necromorphs, and we think people are going to dig it. Well, you're going to have to check it out and see what happens. I mean, he seems to be okay. He's enough to move around, and he's in combat, so we'll see. But we'll learn more about that as time goes on. Well, that's another thing that, as Extraction was announced on, with the PS3, and, there may be some things down the road that, we'll also find out more about with tie-ins and things like that. Nothing I can really talk about, but we just stay tuned on that one. It's definitely coming, we're getting there. You're going to be able to strategically dismember your friends, so that's a nice thing to do, but we'll be releasing more info on that very shortly. So, I mean, I think we try to demonstrate that in the E3 demo, and our core, gamers and our core heart is always going to be, in the horror. It's a horror game. There are action elements. We have some faster-paced combat in certain sections, but we're really making a concerted effort to preserve, the atmosphere, the scare, the freakiness. I mean, if you see some of these moments, we're getting people jumping back all the time. It's one of our top priorities in maintaining that same level of fear and tension, and I think it's going to come across. So I don't think anybody's going to be disappointed. We anticipate people jumping out of their seats. That's our goal. So we're going to keep it there. Can't wait. we appreciate your guys' support, and I think you guys are really going to like what we're doing here. So can't wait to get it out to you guys and hear what you have to say.